I sat at the elegant dining table in my parents' home, watching my sister Diana hold court like she always did. Her wine glass waved dangerously as she gestured, telling yet another story about her latest business triumph. The acquisition was worth $50 million, she announced, preening under our parents' adoring gazes. Sterling Tech is now the fastest-growing software company in the state. My name is Meera Patel, and I've spent the last 5 years being the family disappointment. At least that's what they think I am. And what about you, Meera? Diana turned her attention to me, lips curving in that familiar condescending smile. Still working on that little startup of yours? What was it called again? Shadow something. Shadowbox Digital, I replied quietly, taking a sip of water. No wine for me tonight. I need a clear head for tomorrow's meetings. Right, right. Diana waved her hand dismissively. Doing websites for small businesses, isn't it? How? Quaint. Our mother jumped in, ever the peacekeeper. Not everyone can run a company like Sterling Tech, dear. Meera is doing her best with what she has. If they only knew what Shadowbox Digital really was. Behind the modest website and small downtown office that my family occasionally drove past, my tiny startup was actually one of the most innovative cybersecurity firms in the country. Our client list included government agencies, multinational corporations, and yes, several companies larger than Sterling Tech. But Diana had always been the star. Perfect grades, prestigious MBA, meteoric rise through the tech industry. When she founded Sterling Tech 6 years ago, our parents remortgaged their house to provide her seed funding. They never even asked what I was working on. I read about Sterling's new security platform, our father said proudly. Absolutely revolutionary. Diana, you're changing the entire industry. I bit back a smile, thinking about the security flaws our team had discovered in Sterling's platform just last week. Diana had dismissed our private warning sent through intermediaries, of course. Some tiny consulting firm couldn't possibly understand her sophisticated technology. Speaking of changing the industry, Diana continued, we're announcing a major merger tomorrow. One of the biggest deals in the state's history. She smiled smugly in my direction. But I'm sure you understand the importance of confidentiality agreements, Meera. Oh wait, your little web design company probably doesn't deal with those. My phone buzzed quietly in my lap. A message from my COO. Everything's set for tomorrow. Their board has approved the terms. Should I send the final paperwork to their lawyers? What was that, dear? My mother asked, noticing my distraction. Just a client emergency, I said. Small business websites, you know how it is. Diana laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. Oh, I remember those days. Staying up late, worrying about tiny projects. But that's the difference between us, isn't it? I always aimed higher. I typed a quick response. Send everything. Meeting at 9 a.m. The truth about Shadowbox Digital was known to very few people. On paper, we were a small web development firm. In reality, we were a cybersecurity powerhouse operating through a complex network of shell companies and subsidiaries. Our real headquarters occupied 3 floors of a downtown high-rise, employing over 200 of the best programmers and security experts in the business. More importantly, we had spent the last year quietly acquiring shares in Sterling Tech through various front companies. Diana's revolutionary security platform was built on fundamental flaws that would soon become very public. Her company's value was about to plummet unless someone stepped in to save it. That someone was Shadowbox Digital. Another glass, Diana? Our mother offered, reaching for the wine bottle. Why not? Diana beamed. We should celebrate success when we see it. Speaking of which, Meera, if you ever want some advice on growing your business, I'd be happy to help. Sterling's smallest division probably handles more money than your entire company. I checked my phone again. Our latest valuation had just come in, $2.3 billion. Sterling Tech's entire market cap was less than half that. That's kind of you, I said mildly. Actually, I do have some meetings about expansion tomorrow. Oh. Diana's eyebrows rose with exaggerated interest. Finally moving to a bigger office, maybe hiring a second employee. Our father chuckled. Now, Diana, be nice. Not everyone can be as successful as you. I thought about the stack of documents waiting in my real office, merger agreements, board approvals, and most satisfyingly, the papers that would make me Diana's boss. By this time tomorrow, Sterling Tech would be a subsidiary of Shadowbox Digital. You're right, I said, standing up. I should probably get home. Big day tomorrow. Deanna raised her glass in a mock toast to small victories and modest ambitions. As I drove home, I thought about the moment 5 years ago when I decided to keep Shadowbox's true nature a secret from my family. It was at another dinner, just after Diana had launched Sterling Tech. She had spent the entire evening talking about her vision, her brilliance, her destiny to dominate the industry. I had tried to discuss my own plans for an innovative approach to cybersecurity. Diana had cut me off mid-sentence. "Oh, honey," she'd said, patting my hand. "Security tech is so complex. Why don't you stick to something simple, like building websites? Know your limitations." So I did exactly what she suggested. On the surface, I created a small web development firm as Shadowbox's public face. I took an office in a modest building, hired a few local developers to maintain the facade, and behind the scenes, I built something far bigger than Diana could imagine. My phone buzzed again as I pulled into my garage. Another message from my COO. Final confirmation from their board. They have no idea who's really buying them. You should see their org chart for the merged company. They have you listed as reporting to Diana. I smiled, thinking of tomorrow's meeting. Diana's face when she realized that her tiny startup sister was about to become her boss would be priceless. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them think they're right until the perfect moment to show them just how wrong they've been. The next morning, I stood in my real office, 40 floors above the city. The small web design office my family knew about was visible from here, a perfect metaphor for how they had always underestimated me. Ready? My COO, James, appeared at my door. Sterling's executive team just arrived. They're in the main conference room. I smoothed my designer suit, a far cry from the casual attire I wore to family dinners. Is Diana here yet? Just walked in. You should see her face trying to figure out why the merger meeting is being held at a company she's never heard of. I smiled, picking up my tablet. The last 5 years had been building to this moment. When I entered the conference room, Diana was standing at the window, her back to the door. She turned, recognition and confusion flooding her face. "Mira, what are you doing here? This is a private meeting." I walked to the head of the table, setting down my tablet. "Actually, I called this meeting." Deanna laughed, but it sounded forced. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm here to meet with the CEO of Atlas Dynamics." Atlas Dynamics was one of Shadowbox's many shell companies, the one we used to negotiate the merger. Atlas Dynamics is a subsidiary of Shadowbox Digital, I said calmly, nodding to James to start the presentation. "My company." The room fell silent. Diana's face went through a rapid series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, dawning horror. "That's impossible," she finally managed. "Shadowbox is a tiny web design company. You build websites for restaurants." "That's our public face," I agreed. "But perhaps you should have looked more closely at who's been acquiring Sterling Tech shares over the past year, or who sent you that security audit warning last month, the one you dismissed because it came from a tiny consulting firm." Diana's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the polished floor. "No." I clicked through to the first slide, displaying Shadowbox's true organizational structure. Shadowbox Digital is the parent company of 7 technology firms, including Atlas Dynamics. We specialize in advanced cybersecurity solutions with a current market valuation of $2.3 billion. The Sterling Tech board members were shuffling through their papers, whispering among themselves. Diana remained frozen, staring at the org chart. "As of this morning," I continued, "we own 51% of Sterling Tech's shares. This meeting isn't to negotiate a merger. It's to announce one." "You can't do this," Diana whispered. "Actually, I can. Your board has already approved the deal. They were quite eager to accept our offer, especially after we demonstrated the critical security flaws in your new platform." Diana's face flushed red. "Those warnings came from you? We tried to tell you privately. You chose not to listen." I turned to address the broader room. "Sterling Tech will become a division of Shadowbox Digital. We'll fix the security issues, integrate the salvageable technology, and restructure the management team." "Restructure?" Diana's voice cracked. "I'm the CEO." Not anymore. I slid a document across the table. Your resignation letter is already prepared. Don't worry, your golden parachute is quite generous. The next hour was a blur of signatures, legal requirements, and shocked silence. Diana sat in her chair, seemingly unable to process what was happening. Finally, as the board members filed out, she turned to me. Why, she asked. Why go to all this trouble? Why pretend to be small? I sat on the edge of the conference table. Do you remember 5 years ago when you told me to know my limitations? You, Mom, Dad, you all decided what I was capable of without ever bothering to find out what I was actually doing. So this is revenge? No, I corrected her. This is business. Sterling Tech is a good acquisition for us, despite its flaws. The fact that it happens to be deeply satisfying is just a bonus. My phone buzzed. A message from our mother. Diana just called in tears. What's going on? What have you done? I showed the message to Diana. They still think you're the successful one. Should we go tell them together? The family dinner that night was very different from the previous one. I sat at the same table, but now Diana was the quiet one, pushing food around her plate. I don't understand, our father kept saying. How could Shadowbox be worth billions? You work in that tiny office downtown. That's just for local web design clients, I explained. Our real headquarters is the Hamilton Tower. You can see my office from here. Top 10 floors, north side. Our mother reached for her wine glass with trembling hands. But Diana, Sterling Tech, will be well taken care of as part of Shadowbox, I assured her. Though Diana has chosen to step down as CEO. Stepping down is a polite way to put it, Diana muttered. You could have warned us, our father said accusingly. All these years pretending to run a small business. I raised an eyebrow. Would you have believed me? You never bothered to ask about my work, except to compare it unfavorably to Diana's. The silence that followed was heavy with realization. Years of assumptions, dismissals, and condescension hung in the air between us. Finally, Diana spoke. I underestimated you. We all did. Yes, I agreed. You did. In the months that followed, Sterling Tech was integrated into Shadowbox. The security flaws were fixed, the technology improved, and the company flourished under new management. Diana took a job with a smaller tech firm, hopefully having learned something about humility. Our parents stopped comparing us, though they still struggled to understand how their underachieving daughter built a billion-dollar company right under their noses. As for me, I kept the small web design office downtown. It serves as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes the best success is the kind no one sees coming. Occasionally, I drive past it on my way to my real office, remembering Diana's words. Such a tiny startup. I smile every time, because sometimes the best response to being underestimated isn't to prove people wrong. It's to let them keep believing they're right until the perfect moment to show them just how wrong they've been. These days, when people ask about my path to success, I tell them the truth. Sometimes the biggest achievements start with a small facade and a lot of patience. And sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in proving others wrong, but in watching them realize how wrong they've been all along.